Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Speak Smart podcast. You know we love diving deep into the stuff you send us, and this time, you shared a conversation between Sophia and James.
Sophia and James.
Yeah, they're English language learning experts.
Right.
And I was so excited to get into this because they're talking about how to set goals and actually achieve them.
And in English, too.
Yeah, so it's like a double whammy for us.
For sure. I mean, it's something everybody thinks about, right? How to achieve their goals.
Absolutely, everybody.
Yeah.
And it's something that I think we can all relate to, no matter what our goals are.
Yeah.
So what I found really interesting is how Sophia and James start right off the bat by defining what plans and goals even are.
Yeah, like getting down to basic.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we use those words interchangeably, but they make a really clear distinction.
Yeah, how so?
So Sophia, she describes plans as those short-term roadmaps.
Okay.
So step-by-step guides for what you're going to do in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
And then James, he defines goals as those bigger aspirations, the destinations we're aiming for in the long run.
Okay, so it's like plans are how you get to your goals.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
The steps versus the destination.
I like that. And why is this distinction so important?
Well, they say it's all about effective communication.
That makes sense.
When you understand the difference between a plan and a goal, you can articulate your ambitions more clearly with more purpose.
So it's like speaking the language of success, literally.
I love that. Yeah. Literally and figuratively. They even use this brilliant analogy. Imagine learning English fluently is your grand goal, right? So your weekly vocabulary study sessions, those are part of your plan. Those are steps along the way.
I see. So it's like the smaller actions that contribute to that bigger picture.
Precisely. It's such a simple analogy, but it just makes it so clear,
It really does. And do they give any tips on how to actually talk about plans and goals in English?
Oh, absolutely. They go into some fantastic phrases that you can use to make your conversations sound more natural and fluent.
Oh, I love that. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so for short-term plans, they suggest using phrases like, I'm going to, I'm planning to, or I intend to.
Okay, those sound familiar, like natural ways to say it.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
And James gives an example. He says, I'm going to visit my grandparents this weekend.
Simple and clear.
Yes. And they also point out that using the present continuous tense, like I'm meeting a friend tomorrow, also works really well.
Yeah, that just sounds so much more natural, like it's definitely happening.
Right. It's like you're already in motion, committed to that plan.
It's like you're already on your way.
Exactly. And then they shift gears to talking about expressing goals.
All right, so how do you talk about those bigger aspirations in English?
Well, they suggest phrases like, my goal is to, I want to, I hope to.
Those are good.
And for those more formal occasions, I aim to.
I like that. I aim to. It sounds so determined.
Right, like you've got your sights set on something specific.
Exactly. So is that the key? Being specific about your goals.
Yes. That's where it gets really interesting. They emphasize being specific.
So it's not enough to just say, I want to learn English.
No. They say you've got to be more precise, like, I want to learn 50 new English words every week.
Okay, I'm seeing the difference. That's so much more concrete, actionable.
Exactly. And Sophia explains that when you're specific, your goals become more tangible, more achievable. They move from the realm of wishes to concrete actions.
It's like you're giving your brain a clear target.
Absolutely. And they introduced this method that I know you've probably heard of, but it's worth revisiting because they offer some cool perspectives on it.
Okay, tell me more.
It's the SMART goals method.
Oh yeah, SMART goals. I've definitely heard of it, but a refresher never hurts.
Yeah, so SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Okay, those are some pretty important elements.
Right, and each one plays a vital role in making sure your goals are actually attainable.
So can you give me an example of a SMART goal?
Sure. James shares his goal. He says, I aim to pass my English exam with a score of 80%.
Okay, so let's break that down. It's specific, passing the exam.
Yeah.
Measurable, getting that 80%.
Right.
Achievable.
Right.
Well, assuming he puts in the effort and has the resources.
Exactly, yeah. And it's relevant because it directly aligns with his English learning journey.
And time-bound, because there's a deadline, the exam date.
You got it. It perfectly illustrates how to make a SMART goal.
I love how they connect this back to the listener, Why is this method so important for language learners?
Well, they emphasize that it helps you be efficient with your studies. It's like having a roadmap, not just showing you the destination, but guiding you through each step.
That makes so much sense. It's like having a clear path to follow.
Right. So even with the best goals, like even with SMART goals, we know there are going to be challenges along the way.
Oh, absolutely. Life always throws curveballs.
Yeah, it really does. And Sophia and James, they don't shy away from that at all. They actually dive right into the most common obstacles that people face.
Oh, good. I like that they're addressing the reality.
Yeah, they're keeping it real. It's refreshing because, sometimes we see all this like positive self-help stuff, but they acknowledge the struggles.
So what kind of challenges do they talk about?
Well, one of the first ones is time management.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one for everyone, I think.
Especially for language learning, because it requires consistent effort,
It's like finding the time to practice consistently is key.
Absolutely. And they don't just say like, make time, which is kind of like, duh, right?
Yeah, we all know we should make time, but how?
Exactly. They offer actual strategies like creating schedules and routines.
Okay, so being more proactive about it.
Yep. It's about carving out specific time slots in your day or week dedicated to your goal.
Like actually putting it in your calendar, making it a non-negotiable appointment.
Yes. And they emphasize the power of building habits.
Oh, that's so true. Once something becomes a habit, it's so much easier to stick to.
It's like you don't have to think about it, you just do it.
Exactly. Like brushing your teeth, you don't have to motivate yourself to do it every day.
Right, it's just part of your routine. And they suggest using things like planners or calendars to help you stay organized.
Visual aids, I love those.
Me too. It's about seeing your time and how you're using it. Write down your tasks, set reminders.
It's like giving yourself a visual roadmap.
Yeah, exactly. And they caution against overscheduling.
Yeah.
You got to be realistic about how much you can actually do.
Right, that's where burnout can creep in.
Yep. And then you end up feeling discouraged.
Yeah.
So start small, gradually increase your effort as you build momentum, and celebrate those small wins along the way.
Okay, that's a good reminder. So besides time management, what other challenges do they talk about?
Oh, they talk about lack of motivation.
Yeah, that's a big one. I think everyone struggles with that at some point.
Absolutely. It's natural for that initial excitement to fade over time, especially when you don't see results immediately.
Especially with language learning, it can feel like a long process.
It can be, for sure. So how do they suggest we keep that fire burning?
Spill the secrets.
Well, they talk about the power of visualization.
Oh, interesting. But not just like daydreaming, right?
No, not just daydreaming. They mean like actively picturing yourself achieving your goal, feeling those positive emotions, and using that to fuel you.
Okay, so it's more about creating a vivid mental image.
Exactly. It's like making a movie in your mind of your success, feeling those feelings of accomplishment beforehand.
That's a cool technique. Do they have any other practical tips?
Oh, they suggest making a vision board.
Oh, I love vision boards. It's like a tangible representation of your goals.
Right. It's fun, and it helps you stay focused on what you're working towards. Put pictures, quotes, anything that represents your vision.
And put it somewhere you see it every day, like a constant reminder.
Yes. Like a visual affirmation telling yourself, I can do this. And another thing they emphasize is tracking your progress.
Oh yeah, tracking is so important. It's easy to lose sight of how far you've come.
It really is. And it's not just about checking things off a to-do list. It's about acknowledging how far you've come and using that as motivation.
It's like celebrating those small wins along the way.
Exactly. They suggest keeping a journal to log your accomplishments.
Oh, that's a great idea. You can actually see your progress in black and white.
Or you can use an app, a spreadsheet, whatever works for you. The key is to have a system for recording those wins.
So you can look back and see how much you've accomplished.
Yes. And of course, they remind us to reward ourselves. It's about celebrating those milestones, no matter how small.
Yes. Rewards are so important. It's like giving yourself a little pat on the back.
They even suggest linking rewards to specific goals. For example, if your goal is to finish a certain number of English lessons, maybe you reward yourself with a movie night or something.
I love that. It's like making the journey more fun and rewarding.
Exactly. So even with all this like positive stuff and strategies, Sophie and James also spend a good chunk of time talking about how to deal with those inevitable setbacks.
Oh, good. I was wondering about that because let's face it, things don't always go according to plan.
Nope, they definitely don't. And they're not sugarcoating it. They acknowledge that setbacks are a normal part of any journey.
So how do they suggest we handle those bumps in the road?
Well, what I find so empowering is that they encourage you to reframe setbacks as learning experiences rather than failures.
Oh, that's such a positive mindset shift. Instead of seeing it as the end, you see it as an opportunity to grow.
Precisely. It's about asking yourself, what can I learn from this? Or how can I adjust my plan to overcome this obstacle? Instead of getting discouraged, they urge you to view those bumps as opportunities.
It's like turning those lemons into lemonade.
Exactly. And they remind you that it's okay to adjust your goals if your circumstances change.
That's so important. Life happens, and sometimes we need to make adjustments.
Absolutely. It's not about giving up. It's about being adaptable and staying true to what's most important at that moment.
So it's like being flexible with your plan while still keeping your eye on the bigger goal.
Exactly. And that's where having a support system comes in.
Oh, yeah. Support is crucial, especially when things get tough.
It really is. They emphasize that it's not about going it alone. It's about surrounding yourself with people who encourage and believe in you.
Whether it's friends, family, or a mentor, having that support network can make a huge difference.
Huge difference. They talk about how sharing your goals with others can help you stay accountable.
It's like having cheerleaders in your corner.
Yes. And they suggest finding a mentor, someone who's already achieved what you're aiming for.
That's a great idea. They can offer valuable guidance and support.
And if finding a mentor is, daunting, they say it's okay to just ask for help.
We don't have to do everything on our own, right?
Right. Building a support system takes time, but it's worth the effort.
It's about recognizing that we're stronger together.
And speaking of being stronger, Sophia and James also talk about the importance of focus and consistency.
Yes. It's easy to start strong, but maintaining that effort over time is the real challenge.
So true. So they recommend setting clear priorities.
So focusing on one or two main goals at a time.
Exactly. It's easy to get overwhelmed when you have multiple goals going on.
It's like spreading yourself too thin.
Right. So pick one or two that are most important and give them your full attention.
And how do you maintain that focus? Are there any specific strategies they recommend?
Yeah, they suggest minimizing distractions and creating a focused environment.
Okay, so like finding a quiet space to study or work.
Exactly. Turn off your phone, close those tempting tabs on your computer, and really immerse yourself in what you're doing.
It's like creating a little bubble of focus.
I love that. Little bubble of focus. And they also acknowledge that taking breaks is important.
Oh yeah, breaks are crucial. We don't want to burn ourselves out.
Right. But they emphasize making those breaks intentional.
So not just mindlessly scrolling through social media.
Exactly. It's about saying, okay, I'm going to take a 15-minute break to stretch and grab some coffee and then get back to it.
I like that. Structured breaks to keep yourself refreshed.
And they're quick to point out that consistency doesn't equal perfection.
Oh, that's a good reminder. We don't have to be perfect all the time.
Nope. There will be days when you don't feel like working on your goal, and that's totally okay.
It's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. The important thing is to get back on track as soon as you can.
And to remember why you're doing this in the first place, right?
Yes. They talk about the importance of keeping your eye on the bigger picture. Why are we doing this? What changes are we trying to make?
It's like having that North Star guiding you.
I love that analogy. It's about remembering your why and letting that motivate you.
And I love how they connect this to the language learning journey.
Me too. They suggest that reflecting on your progress in English can also teach you valuable lessons about yourself.
Oh, wow. It's like language learning becomes a tool for self-discovery.
Exactly. It's not just about the language. It's about developing self-awareness, resilience, and a growth mindset.
That's so cool. It's like a bonus benefit of learning a new language.
I know, right? And I think that's a great place to pause for now.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have. From defining plans and goals to exploring challenges and strategies for staying focused and motivated.
It's been a jam-packed session.
It really has. But we've only just scratched the surface of what Sophie and James have to say.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, yeah. In our next segment, we'll delve deeper into their insights on reflection, adjustment, and, of course, celebrating those achievements.
Can't wait to hear more.
Stay tuned for more practical tips, actionable strategies, and inspiring perspectives on how to achieve your goals, both in language learning and in life. Welcome back to the Speak Smart podcast. We're still hanging out with Sophia and James and their awesome advice on plans and goals.
Yeah, we left off talking about like finding focus and building that support system, you know?
Right. But even with all the right tools and the perfect plan, sometimes life just has other ideas.
The dreaded curveball. It happens to the best of us.
For sure it does. So how do we handle those unexpected detours?
That's where Sophia and James really shine. They emphasize the importance of being flexible.
Okay, so rolling with the punches, being adaptable.
Exactly. And being patient, too. It's like they're saying, look, setbacks are a normal part of any journey. Don't let them derail you.
I love that. It's about seeing those setbacks not as failures, but as opportunities to learn and grow.
It's a total mindset shift. Instead of getting stuck in that negative spiral, you reframe it as a chance to course correct.
And they encourage you to ask yourself some pretty empowering questions.
Ooh, like what?
Like, what can I learn from this? Or
Yeah.
how can I adjust my plan to overcome this obstacle?
It's like turning that frustration into a problem-solving mission.
Exactly. And they make this really cool connection back to language learning.
Oh, I'm always up for those connections.
And say, think about it. You hit a grammar rule that just doesn't click.
Right.
Do you just give up?
No way. You try a different approach, maybe find some new resources.
Exactly. You adapt and find a way to make it work. And that same resilience applies to achieving any goal.
So it's not about avoiding setbacks altogether. It's about how you bounce back from them.
I love that.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes that bouncing back might mean adjusting your goals completely.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes life throws you a curveball so big, you got to reassess your entire game plan.
All right. Our circumstances change, priorities shift, and they say it's totally okay to revise your plans accordingly.
It's not about giving up on your dreams. It's about staying true to what's most important at that moment.
And they give this great example. Let's say you set this ambitious goal to study English for 2 hours every day, but then work gets crazy busy, or you have family stuff that needs your attention. What do?
Well, the old me would probably beat myself up for not hitting that goal.
But Sophia and James say, no way. You adjust, you adapt. Maybe you shorten those study sessions or focus on more bite-sized tasks.
Like listening to a podcast while you commute.
Exactly. The key is to stay flexible and find ways to keep moving forward, even if it's at a different pace.
That's so reassuring. It's not about being rigid. It's about finding what works for you.
And speaking of finding what works, they also dive into some awesome strategies for like maximizing your focus and building that consistency.
Yeah, because starting strong is one thing, but staying consistent over time, that's a whole other beast.
It's true. They're all about turning those good intentions into lasting habits.
So what's their secret sauce for staying consistent?
Well, they talk about managing distractions.
Ah, those pesky distractions. They're everywhere these days.
They really are. So they suggest creating a dedicated space for whatever you're working on.
Like if you're studying English, maybe finding a quiet corner in your house where you can focus.
Exactly. And putting your phone on silent, closing those distracting tabs on your computer.
Creating a little oasis of focus.
I love that. But it's not just about external distractions. It's about managing those internal ones too. You know, those wandering thoughts.
Oh, I know those all too well. My mind loves to go on tangents.
Mine too. And they have this great tip for dealing with that. Intentional breaks.
Okay, so not just letting your mind drift aimlessly, but actually scheduling those breaks.
Exactly. It's about giving your brain a chance to reset.
Like a little refresh button.
Yes. Stand up, stretch, do a quick meditation, whatever helps you come back feeling refreshed and ready to focus.
I like that. Structured breaks to avoid those mental rabbit holes.
And they also talk about this technique called time boxing, which is basically setting a timer for a specific amount of time and dedicating yourself solely to the task during that time.
Oh, I've heard of that. It's like giving yourself a mini deadline.
Exactly. And it's amazing how much you can accomplish when you're hyper-focused for a short burst of time.
And they remind us that consistency doesn't have to mean doing the same thing every single day, right?
Right. It's about finding a rhythm that works for you and your lifestyle. Some days you might have more time and energy. Other days you might need to scale back.
The key is to keep showing up, even in small ways.
And to celebrate those small wins along the way. Which brings us to another super important point that Sophia and James make. Reflection.
Ah, yes. Taking a step back to assess your progress.
It's so easy to get caught up in the doing that we forget to pause and reflect.
But without that reflection, how do we know if we're even on the right track?
Right. It's about taking the time to check in with yourself, both in terms of what you've accomplished and how you're feeling.
So how do they suggest we go about this reflection process?
They're big fans of journaling. Just a few minutes each day to jot down your thoughts, feelings, and observations about your goals.
It's like having a conversation with yourself on paper.
And for language learners specifically, they suggest using journaling to reflect on your learning journey.
Ooh, I like that. So writing down new words you've learned, conversations you've had, even mistakes you've made.
Exactly. It's about turning those everyday experiences into valuable learning moments.
And creating a tangible record of your progress. Do they recommend any specific questions to ask yourself during this reflection time?
Yeah, they suggest asking things like, what have I accomplished so far? What challenges have I encountered? What strategies have been most effective?
It's like holding a magnifying glass up to your efforts and really examining what's working and what's not.
And they also remind us that this reflection doesn't have to be a solo activity. You can talk about your progress with a friend, a mentor, a language partner.
Sometimes it helps to have that outside perspective, right?
Absolutely. Someone else might notice patterns or offer suggestions that you wouldn't have thought of on your own.
It's like having another set of eyes looking at your journey and offering fresh insights.
And I think that's a perfect place to pause for today. We've unpacked so much valuable stuff, from reframing setbacks to maximizing focus and embracing the power of reflection.
My brain is buzzing with new ideas.
Mine too. But we're not done yet. There's still more to come. In our next segment, we'll explore Sophia and James's advice on adjusting our plans, celebrating our achievements, and ultimately creating that mindset that sets us up for success.
Ooh, can't wait.
Stay tuned for more.
And we're back for the final part of our deep dive with Sophia and James. We've talked about setting goals, dealing with challenges, staying focused, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, the nitty-gritty of goal getting. But now it's time for the fun part, celebrating those wins.
Yes, it's not all about the struggle. We gotta savor those moments of victory.
And Sophia and James, they're all about making celebration a key part of the process.
It's not just about feeling good, it's about reinforcing those positive habits and keeping that motivation high.
It's like giving yourself a pat on the back and saying, hey, good job, you're on the right track.
Exactly. So they offer some really cool strategies for making celebration meaningful, not just like a fleeting moment.
Okay, I'm all ears. How do we celebrate right?
One of the things they suggest is keeping a success journal. A success journal. So not just a to-do list, but like a dedicated space for recording your wins.
Exactly. Big or small, write them down.
So like if I finally nailed that tricky grammar rule I've been struggling with.
Yes. Write it down. Or if you had a conversation in English and felt confident and understood.
It's like creating a highlight reel of all the awesome things you've accomplished.
And when you're feeling discouraged, you can look back and remind yourself, hey, I've done this before, I can do it again.
It's like giving yourself a pep talk from your past self. I love that.
Me too. And they don't stop at just writing it down. They encourage you to share your wins with others.
Oh, yeah, spread the joy.
It's amazing how sharing your successes with others amplifies those positive feelings.
It's contagious, right?
It is. It's like you're inspiring others while also solidifying those achievements in your own mind.
And of course, we can't forget about tangible reward.
Oh, yes, those are important.
Sophia and James are all about treating yourself when you hit those milestones.
And they say it doesn't have to be anything extravagant. It could be something small, like enjoying a delicious meal or watching your favorite movie.
Or maybe finally buying that book you've been wanting.
Exactly. The key is to find rewards that truly motivate you. Things that you'll genuinely look forward to.
It's like adding a little extra incentive to keep pushing forward.
And they even suggest linking specific rewards to specific goals. Like if your goal is to read a certain number of English books.
Maybe you reward yourself with a trip to an English-speaking country.
That's the ultimate reward. It's like turning goal achievement into an adventure, a journey with exciting milestones along the way.
Now that's motivation. But even with all this celebrating, we got to remember to keep reflecting and adjusting our plans, right?
Oh, absolutely. Celebrating those wins is important. But Sophia and James also emphasize the ongoing process of reflection and adjustment.
Because the path to success is rarely a straight line.
No, never. There are always going to be detours and unexpected obstacles. It's like navigating a map where the terrain keeps changing.
So we got to be ready to adapt, to adjust our course, maybe even change our destination based on what we learn along the way.
Exactly. And they acknowledge that sometimes we set goals that are, well, a little too ambitious.
We get caught up in the excitement and aim for the stars, but then reality hits.
It happens. And they say it's okay. It's not about beating yourself up for not reaching those initial targets. It's about being honest with yourself and adjusting your expectations.
So making those goals more realistic and attainable, right?
Yes. And they suggest breaking down those big long-term goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
Like climbing a mountain one base camp at a time.
Exactly. Each small win gives you a sense of accomplishment and keeps you motivated to keep climbing.
And if you're not seeing the results you want, they encourage you to experiment with different strategies.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to try new things. Maybe that language learning app isn't working for you.
So you try a language exchange partner or immerse yourself in English movies.
The key is to keep exploring and find what works best for you, for your unique learning style and your life.
It's all about making the journey enjoyable and personalized.
And they remind us that progress isn't always linear.
There are going to be days when you feel like you're flying high.
And days when you feel like you're barely moving forward.
It's all part of the process.
It is. And that's why that regular reflection is so important, Taking the time to celebrate your wins, acknowledge the challenges, and adjust your approach.
It's like checking in with yourself and making sure you're still on the right path.
Well said. And I think that beautifully sums up our deep dive into the world of plans and goals with Sophia and James.
What an incredible journey it's been. We've covered so much ground.
We have, from setting SMART goals to celebrating achievements, overcoming challenges, and embracing that ongoing process of growth and adaptation.
They've given us so much to think about and apply to our own lives.
I know. I feel so inspired. And remember, the most important step is the one you take today. So what's one small action you can take right now to move closer to your goals?
That's a great question to ponder.
Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. We hope you feel empowered to create the life you envision.
And remember, you got this.
Thank you for listening to the Speak Smart podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our future episodes. We'll see you next time.